Welcome back, guys. Today we are doing the Opus 12 win set review, and we are going to start right off with the Chocobos. This deck has always been a thing, and it's probably the cheapest deck to get to build, and for newcomers to get into. It's one of the drawing attractions for the game. We all love the birds. So here we have the 2-drop Chocobo backup. When Chocobo enters the field, the forwards you control can form a party with forwards of any element this turn. You can tap the forwards you control can form a party with forwards of any element this turn. So right off the bat, this opens up, first of all, it's job name Chocobo, so definitely searchable. Backup, which is always good to have, and allowing everyone to form parties with each other is just super good. So that opens up the deck to a little more variety now. We were experimenting with wind, ice, and some people with wind water, just to kind of make the Chocobos a little more flexible. And instead of like rushers and aggro decks, they kind of try to make them mid-range and obviously still aggro but mid-range as well, so they can kind of survive a little longer. And I think this card might help out with that, allowing them to form parties with other people and get benefits from other colors as well. So that's very good. Chocolate or Chocolate. Also Waff, 2-drop backup. You can tap her to place a counter on Chocolate, and you can tap her to remove 2 item counters from her to draw 1 card. You can only use this ability during your turn. So it's a self-sufficient engine. It's very interesting. I like this card. We don't have a lot of things like this that kind of just power itself up to net you a card. So in a few turns, in the span of a game, it could probably draw you 3 cards, 4 cards if you're lucky. Obviously, if you're not using the backup to, generate any for CP itself, so it will get you there. It's going to be useful, and it is Chocobo, job Chocobo, so it will be searchable as well. And now the new Barts, which kind of made the deck a lot more interesting this time around. The forwards of cost 1 you control gain haste. When Barts forms a party and attacks, you may search for a forward of cost 1 and play it onto the field. So there's already a lot of forwards like Black Chocobo, and there's already a lot of 1-drop Chocobos that are going to be playable now. We'd oftentimes opt out for them because they were so weak, and then they didn't have haste like the ones we run now. So this card alone helps them open up a little bit more. And then being able to play an extra one and give it haste as well. That's 2 unblockables. Well, actually, you can't have 2 Black Chocobos, I don't think. But that is just more forwards that gain haste. I can't think of all of the 1-drops that can benefit from this, but having this Chocobo, the 2-drop backup here being let your forwards you control can form party with forwards of any element, just leaves Barts open to form parties with anybody else. And so being able to give the Chocobos options in different colors now, and bring forwards of cost 1 or more and play them onto the field and give them haste, Barts is going to be doing a lot for this deck. I do plan on building this deck, so let me know if any of you guys want to see this, or if any of you are already building this. I'd love to see what you have, and then I can put my take on those two. So Chocobos is definitely going to be in the limelight after Opus 12, or in Opus 12 for this whole season. While we have this until Opus 13. The next set of cards, which if you guys don't already know is very fun and is also very threatening, is the Shikari X, Y, and Z deck. I'm gonna sum these up pretty quickly, but if you guys, before I get into their effects, I'm gonna say it now, and I will say it as I go through this too. First and foremost, it is very important that you guys remove X. X is the whole thing. X is is the win condition. X is the powerhouse. Now they're all useful in their own. Z is also very important to get rid of early on, but you cannot let Shikari X survive 2 turns, or at least a whole round, right? Which is your opponent's turn and your turn, because it will deal the damage. So with that being said, let's get into its effects. For each shop Sin Hunter other than Shikari X you control, Shikari X gains 2,000 power. Now they all buff each other up. They all have this effect. So if you have all 3 on board, they will each be at 9k. The job Sin Hunter forwards other than Shikari X you control gain haste, and this forward cannot be blocked by a forward of cost 4 or more. Meaning, if, again, like I said, if you leave him out for 2 turns, then they will summon Y and Z, or Z and Y, probably in that order, and draw a card, and have haste, and be able to do the next thing, which is when Shikari X forms a party with Shikari Y and Shikari Z and attacks, Shikari X deals your opponent 3 points of damage. Now that is effect damage, meaning you will take 3 hits, and then you have to deal with a 27k full party. If not, you will take 4 points of damage. Obviously, EX burst trigger like normal in this one, but yeah, you don't want to take 3 to 4 points of damage in one turn, because it could be the difference. They could leave you at 4, collectively throughout the game, and when they're ready, this will automatically kill you. Like, you don't even have to worry about taking that last point of damage. So Shikari Y, other than the buff ability, when Job Sin Hunter other than Shikari Y enters the field, choose up to 3 backups, activate them. So very classic Wind, being able to refresh backups and sustain, save CP, however you guys want to call it, but very good. Pretty much allows you to play the rest of them too, as long as you're going on. And then Shikari Z, when a Job Sin Hunter other than Shikari Z enters the field, draw a card. So one more time, the way it usually goes is they'll drop Z first, probably, play the other 2 and draw 2 cards. If all 3 of them are out, only Y and Z can attack on the first turn. But if you let X survive your turn, then the next turn they will deal you 3 points of damage on the party attack. So it's very important, again, to remove X from the equation as soon as possible. Do not let him survive a round or 2 turns, however you want to put it. He is the big thing. Now, this deck has a lot of support already. It falls in Wind, which already has protection. It falls in 11, which already has a very sustainable, searchable engine. So, Star Sybil, Semi Lafina, Earth. It falls in the colors. That combination, the 11 engine, falls in some what we think are some of the most beneficial colors, which is Earth and Wind. You have a lot of searchers. You have a lot of powerhouse cards. Tyro, just to name a few searchers, and Diabolos, and we have Fenrir, the new Fenrir, and what's it called, Mist Dragon. Just a lot of great cards to support these guys. So a lot to think about with that deck. That deck is going to be very relevant in this set for the meta. I'm not saying it's going to be tier 0 or anything like that, but it could get pretty close to tier 1 deck because of all the support it has already. One of the reasons I put this in here is because this is, I want to say, one of the first, or if not the few times, that we've seen a deck bring in an entireable playable archetype almost. I'm glad there isn't 7 Sin Hunters and one of them's a legendary and we have to collect them all to do this thing. But it's 3 rare cards that provide its own deck already, like a playable deck. It almost feels very Yu-Gi-Oh-ish, right? Because Yu-Gi-Oh used to, every new set would develop its own type or archetype, I guess. Like, I can't even remember them, like Insectors or whatever, and I can't remember the other ones. But every set would come out with a new thing, like Spell Mages or whatever, and then you'd have to build or collect all those cards in order for that deck to be playable, right? So I think this is one of the few times, if not the first, like I said, that we see something like this in Opus in Final Fantasy, where there's a whole, like, it's very small, obviously, but there is a playable deck right out of the box from there, with like an archetype and its own thing. Obviously, all the previous sets support it a lot, but it's here. So one more time to wrap up this section, get rid of X, do not let it live. They're all very good in their own regard, but he is the main thing. Next, these are some of the cards that are going to buff, that are like indirect buffs to a lot of other decks, like Weewa, obviously the Shikari, and just this whole casting thing, right? It's one of the biggest things. Wind Ice is one of the ones that got stuff from here. So Alexander, if you draw 1 card, if you cast 4 or more cards during this turn, draw 2 cards instead. If this is the 4th card you cast, then that will trigger its enhanced ability, I guess, and you will draw 2 cards instead of 1. It's a 1 CP cantrip. It's 1 for 2 CP, right? If you think about it, if you tap 1, you'll grab a card, and that's 2 CP from your hand if you need to generate value. So it's automatically plus. If you get the second part of it, it's even more beneficial to you. The 2-drop White Mage backup. When White Mage enters the field, choose up to 3 backups you control. If you have cast 3 or more cards during this turn, activate them. Same thing. There is a loop with this later that we're going to talk about in another video, but I just want to bring it up that this card will see play. It's actually really good. So it's like the old Aerith, but better because you don't need to have played or control a 7 or something. I forget if Aerith did anything like that, but it's good. It's better than Aerith, right? It's very power creep, I guess that's the word. But you have to have cast 3 things, so I don't know. It's easier to play around this than the Aerith, I believe. And then Althea, when Althea enters the field, choose a character other than Althea you control, activate it, so forward or back up. And then choose a character other than Althea you control, return it and Althea to their owner's hand. So it's like having the Titus like it used to in Weewa last 2 sets ago. You can send 2 things back and they'll go back to their owner's hands. Also lets you replay things. What the bright side about this is 2 things. One, she's on curve, 3-drop backup for FCC, which is very good. We already like that engine in Wind. And she opens up, replayability and backups for you. So she does a lot in just for a hero. So she's very good. And that's why she made the list. I think right now mostly she's seen in Wind Ice, which is a very strong deck, something to watch out for. Next is the wrap up, the legendaries, and one more H. Ishtola, hands down, probably the most solid legendary we've seen in a while. 3-drop 9k, haste, has built-in Minwu. Is dealt if Ishtola is dealt damage less than her power, the damage becomes 0. We talked about this in when all the rules changed while I was gone, and this is how most of those cards read now. If X is dealt damage less than their power, the damage becomes 0. I think it should be, yeah. And then I don't know if that is with reduced power. I don't know, but it feels like that's the way it should be read now. Ishtola cannot be blocked by a forward of cost 4 or more. So right off the bat, she's already threatening your characters and stuff by being haste 9k and can't be blocked by 4 or higher. It's going to be very hard for 3 or hires, or for 3 or less, to deal with her. So being able to remove her is going to be something you want to be concerned about. So Enkidu is one of the ways not to deal with her, but he is a good card. I just brought him on here because I think he provides more cleave damage that Wind likes, or that Weewa likes, and he does have a very simple S to deal 1 forward, deal a damage equal to its power minus 1,000. So kind of like a Moomba, like a built-in Moomba. I don't know. I like him. I thought he was a monster at first, which would have made him even more broken, but because we're used to seeing him in that theater rhythm art, I kind of played myself there. But he is a forward, so he's not bad. Ash is another great card too. 2-drop princess, 12, 5k. If you control 6 or more characters, Ash gains 2,000 power, and Ash cannot be chosen by your opponent's abilities. If it's 5 others and her, you will get this effect. At the end of each of your turns, if you have cast 3 or more cards during this turn, draw 1 card. Now, we talked about the Alexander and the White Mage and Althea and stuff like that. Those are just some of the cards that are going to go in hand-to-hand with this Ash, and how they're going to generate you tons of value in 1 turn. You will be able to recover at least a few cards back by casting 3 things. So you'll end up, let's say for example you just cast 2 backups, you play the White Mage, end up refreshing your backups. Let's say that leaves you at 3 backups. You can cast the Alexander, draw 2 cards, tap the last 2 to put the Ash. That's more cards, and at the end of your turn you'll draw 1 more card. You pretty much ended up plussing super hard on that turn. There's a lot of reasons to play this card. She is a little weak, but once you have all the characters, she's going to be a problem all on her own. So Wind definitely brought a lot of stuff, support, new archetypes, and strong cards. Really, this set has not let us down even a little bit. I know I left a few cards out, like I say. Not everything's gold, but it's up there, man. So thanks for listening, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. Stay tuned for the rest of them. Let me know what you guys are playing. Have any of you tried Chocobos or Shikaris yet? I mentioned Wind Ice and Wind Earth. Did you guys like Ishtola as much as I do? Let me know, and we can talk about it. I'll see you next time.